CPU 42%, 60 frames per second. Maybe that helped. To see if I'm back online. I think it's the little video you have in the corner. It's a GIF. Well, first let's see if I'm back online. And then yeah, first let's see. Oh, it's better? Okay. I think it's the bit rate. So I'm back on. Twitch is updated. Yeah, I can see how it's choppy for me. I can't tell if that's my internet or because I'm streaming and looking at it at the same time. The video feels okay now. Looks okay now. Okay. Hola. Hello. Yeah, is it running better now? Uh-oh, it's getting worse again. All right, let's turn off the GIF and we'll see what that does. I'll just turn off the GIF. And because maybe it is just my computer isn't very good. I got a new computer that, well, now you can see the keyframes I'm working with. Okay. All right, well, I'll figure out how to add something later. Let's see. Thank you everybody for helping. Was live. I have to find my one second. Besides developing the game, do you work in other stuff? Not now. Video looks good. Good. Okay. I guess yeah. I'll just have to use a smaller size GIF later. It's fine. Do I work on other stuff? No. Before the game, I made comics and animations and stuff, but now it's all the game. I don't know what's going on with Facebook. Yeah, I just have to be a little more less resource intensive, I guess, with the stream on this computer. All right. I'll figure out how to balance it later. Guinea Pig Parkour is live now. And it's running fine now. It was fine for me. Smooth as can be. All right, thanks. Matt and Adam on Facebook. Thank you. Yeah, I have to like have all this stuff. Figure out how I can see all the chats for everything. Hola, Elizabeth. Okay, cool. All right. Well, we don't need all the gimmicks right now. That's fine. It's just you and me. Hello, Gamma FP. Show us your guinea pig. I don't actually have a guinea pig right now. Joe is my childhood pet guinea pig. RP, I see I was working on a game but has been really slow. So I have to focus on my daily job now. I admire a lot of what you do. Thank you, RP. I really appreciate that. Yeah, it's tough to balance life and your creative work, but that's the goal of the Kickstarter, is to help me work on this full time, and so I can actually get the game made. So it's amazing it's gotten so far already. This will be really life-changing if I can work on this full time. You draw a lot. I do draw a lot. Yeah, you have to when you do hand-drawn stuff. It's an insane undertaking. All right, so let's start drawing. I start very rough. Let's see. I'll draw Joe very rough here. And we'll get the keyframes on. I'm feeling I haven't drawn in a while because I've been working on, we've actually been moving, which is weird timing. So I've been moving and doing the Kickstarter, so I haven't been drawing very much in the last couple of weeks. So I'm feeling that like a little bit awkward right now, but I'll get back into it. Okay. You draw Joe. And you had your plate full, yes. Thank you, Matt. Yeah, I'm just gonna show the whole thing. Usually I skip to the inking because it's a little nerve-wracking to show the keyframing process, because that's the most important stage in a way. So at least you can see the keyframes now. So we'll start with Joe, and we want him to do a backflip kick. Now the biggest challenge that I have is the balance between good animation and good gameplay. And that's what I'll be continuing to work on as I develop the game. So like this kick right here is not even what it is in game because I had to remove some frames. And I'll probably push it even more to have more impact. So that's a balance that I've been trying to work on. Matt, did you do your training at the Center for Cartoon Studies? I studied there for a year in comics, and then I went to the Academy of Art University in San Francisco, and that's where I started to learn animation. So yeah, so I'll just start with the kickflip, and then we can worry about the game ramifications after I get some basic things. And I like to just experiment when I'm doing these sketch things. Like, I just like to see what the movement looks like. So like, did I do Steve Bissette's class? Yeah, Steve was great. Yeah, I think I had a few classes with Steve. Yeah. Are you studying there now? Yeah, you gotta be careful not to put too many frames per moves, otherwise it feels floaty. Yeah, exactly. So that's really the balance that I have to, and I have to look to games like Earthworm Jim because they get that balance right, where it's like looks fluid but it's responsive. But you know, you can't tackle everything at once. So I'm just going to work on creating a nice animation, and then we can think about how we can jazz it up. Oh, you work with artists who came from Center for Cartoon Studies? That's cool. You want to use smear frames for quick actions. True, yeah, I was just looking at the Guile kickflip, and that's what they did for that too. Yeah, that's true. The trick for me is that I want it to be unique and interesting, and so that's why I'm not so I don't jump right to the like, oh, this is how you make the animation, like here's the standard way to do it, because I'm trying to make it unique. But obviously at a certain point you do have to fall back on those things that are tried and true. So that's why I don't know, I'd rather start with an interesting animation and then figure out like some things like jumping is easier because I know for a fact that when you hit A, you're already in the air, so I'm not going to have any kind of anticipation or anything like that. And so then you're just kind of animating based on the move. It's a little bit trickier with attacks because the animation kind of much the basics like jumping. It's like climbing up things, and anything that's kind of led by the animation, that's where you have to balance the responsiveness. Like, I'm sure that this anticipation I'm gonna cut, but I at least want to see what it would look like, and then I can work from there. Because then what I might do is like take that energy and make it in a different way, translate it somehow, or not. We'll see. I'm using video reference right now just to get the basics of the weight distribution. Have you seen Wonder Boy 3 remake? Is that the Dragon's Trap, or is that a different one? And we'll just make it cartoony and we'll make it bouncy within that limitation, which is smart. I mean, then you don't have to worry about the problems I'm dealing with. Um, but I do want it to have that goofy, fluid feeling. The dragon one, yeah. No, that was cool, and it does look good, and it looks bouncy and everything. Um, yeah, I mean, I'll probably it's like finding a balance between those two things. Um, the other thing when I'm sketching this out is like I do it very basic to get the action, and then I'll push it and make it goofier and stretchier and all that. Because if you start with exaggerating it, then you might not get the basic movement right. Okay. You worked in comics. Oh, cool. So yeah, similar path to me. A lot of motion, even the rough outlines. Yeah, but you want to get the essence of how it'll feel. So you know what you're working with. Because really, once the sketch phase, when you get that dialed in, and especially once you're like, of course, when you're first starting out, everything's difficult. But once you get used to the process and you're very like everything becomes kind of second nature, then it's really this part of the process that's where all your decisions are being made. It's like when I add the detail and make this sketch look like Joe, it's just a matter of like I don't have to think too much about it. It's just like, okay, well, here's his head and here's his body, and so I just need to, you know, make sure it's the right proportions and everything. But it's not. I don't do any of the like planning work when I'm adding detail. So it really should all be. You should see what the animation movement's going to look like in this phase. And then, of course, by making sure that the animation movement is right in this phase, if you want to change it, which I do, I always like start with one thing and then change it up and do something else. It's very fast to. Oh, someone pledged. Thank you, whoever pledged. That's great. Yeah. So, what was I saying? Oh, the yeah. Any changes you make are fast because it's so rough. So yeah, you don't want to. I mean, when I was starting out, you do like finished animation. It's just experience. Like the earlier you are, the more you'll do like finished animation that you have to redo. I mean, I I did a lot of finished animation that I redid with different character designs and stuff. That's just inexperience. So the more experienced you get, the more you realize like where you should be making those choices and why you're making those choices. Loving your work, so inspiring. Thank you, Dee Dee Game Boy. Thank you very much. I absolutely love what you're doing. This game deserves a lot more attention. Thank you, Labby Doo. Thank you very much. So yeah, when I'm planning it out, like there are things that like you do when you're starting out that I just don't do anymore. I think some of it too is like there are certain things that people do in 2D animation that it's because of the pipeline. So normally you have someone make the keyframes and then you pass it on to somebody else who will make the in-betweens, and there's a whole team of people, and so when you make the keyframes you need to make them you need to make sure it's very precise as far as you're handing these to someone else to fill in, so that's all the information they have. And so then you'll have, you know, arcs and timing notes and stuff like that, and that's a skill in itself, is to have the planning drawings so ready that you can pass them on to somebody else and they'll fill it in and it'll match your vision. But because I'm not working with a team and it's just me, I'm a lot more loose with the process. I don't time things out with like a timing chart or any of that stuff. I did at first because that's what you learn how to do, but then you realize when you're working on your own that like I'm doing all this extra work as though I'm handing it off to somebody else, but it's just me doing it, so it's just kind of like a waste of time. It's not a waste of time if that's what you want to practice so you get good at that skill, but for me it's just like I'd rather be looser and more free-flowing with it. Don't want to make the eternal silly question, what is your brush? But in Flash I find it easier to push frames, but I don't have a nice line there yet. Yeah, Flash, that's just practice. Flash is a wonky brush, but I've just been working in it so long that I have learned how to make a thick, thin line in Flash and not have it look flashy. You know, there's like in early Flash animation, you could really tell like that it was made in Flash based on the line because it's so odd. But I just spent a lot of time honing that in so that, you know, you'll have, see, like, and I'll redo it until it looks better. Like that one I'll take because it has this thin to thick to thin, but a lot of times Flash has this weird like thin, thick, thin, thick. It's like, it's really, it just takes a lot of practice to get it out of that look. I see a certain strength to solo creators on animation projects. It takes a while, but the payoff is great. Yeah, I mean, I prefer it, but that's just because I'm very introverted, reclusive, controlling as far as my creative process. I'm not that great at collaboration, and so for better or worse. So that's just, you know, you do the best with what you have. So for me, my best is, at least right now, my best is working on my own. Um, so it's a little ridiculous to do it all yourself, but the thing for me is that it ensures that I get the result that I want. And it took me years to learn how to do things in order to get the result that I wanted. Oh, you just pledged Data Pepple. Thank you so much. That's awesome. Thank you. Yeah, I mean, eventually I'm gonna have to learn how to work with people and manage people and stuff like that. I'm also too agreeable to like. I hate conflict. So if someone does something and it's not what I want, I'm really not good at like communicating that. I'll just be like, oh, okay. I'll just be like disappointed. Um, so yeah, I don't know. I need to get better at that. Definitely. All practice, at least for me. Um, you see people who are like really talented, really young, and that's not me. I just keep pushing myself to get to the point because I had a vision of what I wanted it to look like, but I wasn't ready to make that yet. And because it's just me, I basically just had to learn how to get things. I had to learn how to be the artist that could make the game that I envisioned. And there's still things that like I want to get better at, like background art, painterly style, but which another program I learned in high school is called Games Factory back then, and it's event based, so it's not really coding as much as it's like if then statements. If this happens, then this will happen, and so you have to know how to use logic, but you don't have to learn like weird, arbitrary code. I mean, I learned like HTML and QBasic as a kid, but I don't really know code like that. So Click Team Fusion is where I started, and then Construct 3. Well, I hit a wall where it couldn't handle my animations, and it couldn't be HD quality. So I started looking for other engines, and Construct is made to like it's almost made to mimic Click Team Fusion. Like it's so close that I just immediately picked it up. So that was a nice discovery. It was like, oh, I can just use this program. It's almost exactly the same, so I don't have to relearn how to make the game. And it just handles way more high quality animations. So Construct's been great, and then it's supposedly it can port to more things. We'll find out. Yeah, it's pretty rad. Game dev here. I prefer using Game Maker. It's very easy too. Yeah, I almost thought about Game Maker, especially because they can now just port to Switch. I think they had an update where it can port to Switch, but I don't. But it looked like they couldn't do HD graphics. I could be wrong about that, but it looked like it was only pixel art. Does he fall on his belly? No. The arc isn't quite right now, so it doesn't make sense, but I'll adjust it. Actually, that could be funny. He does a kick and falls on his belly and then gets up. That's the thing, that's the second pass. The first pass is just getting the basic movement, and then I'll worry about making it funny and making it goofier. Great, bro. Love the work. Thank you. On Facebook. It works well with hand-drawn animations. I just released a game with it. Oh, really? Was it HD quality? You have to do sprite sheets, because that's the other thing is that I tried Unity for a second, and you have to do sprite sheets, and there's so many frames in my animations that I didn't even want to think about what it would... It's just such a different process. The thing with Construct and Click Team is that you have timelines, basically. Yeah, sprite sheets. Yeah. That sounds like a nightmare. Because I have so many frames. You know, I have frames with some animations have hundreds of frames. Like the idle animation. Let me see how much the idle animation. I just opened it. The idle animation has 393 frames. So I don't I don't know how you would even approach that. I don't know. The thing is, like, I just have to figure out where to put my time. And right now, some tricks like if you name your file, it auto imports. Oh, okay. Is it HD? Because I think that was the main thing, was that it seemed like it was restricted. Yeah, it is. Okay. Well, I could always switch over. The thing is, I'm not full HD. Okay. I might switch over because I like that it can port to Switch, and it seems to be able to port to other things. So if it can handle the animations, and if there's a way to do it, I might do that. Right now, the engine's so basic that it would be pretty... Like, if I was working on this full time, then that might be worth doing. So that's possible. Ported to Android and Linux and Xbox. Wow. Yeah, I mean, I might look into that. It's a little intimidating with the... It seems like you do more coding in Game Maker than Construct. But yeah, I might have to try it out. The Switch, it's the publisher who will make it, so I don't know. Okay. Yeah, Construct supposedly ports to Xbox and Linux and Android and Mac and different things. It's mainly Switch and PlayStation it doesn't support. All right. This is this is not very good right now. I'm kind of warming up with this one because I have not drawn in a couple weeks. So I'm kind of getting back in the groove of it. Yeah, there are people specialize on it. They take your construct or whatever code, port it to C++, and import it to consoles. Yeah, I have talked to a couple people about that. So I am very comfortable working in construct, so it just depends. Okay, here's a very basic version of it. We'll adjust the timing. Right now it's very slow. So I'll see how every other frame looks. Go for construct. Yeah, I might just go for construct because I already know it. Okay. Much better time. Looks still weird. There's a weird frame here. Okay, this probably is higher. Oh, this is probably unnecessary frame here. That's weird. Iconoclasts. Yeah. I definitely, I played that one. Yeah, I knew that was made in construct, so I figured it's possible. Kind of eyeball the arcs. Okay, it's very rough, but yeah, you kind of have to eyeball the arcs. I mean, I wouldn't recommend you eyeball the arcs. I'd recommend you just draw, here's the arc and you follow that arc. But I like to work kind of loose, so I just have to make sure that like the head follows an arc and the body follows an arc, and they both kind of follow arcs. Could be cleaned up. All right. It's very rough. Yeah, that, all right, well, it gives me like a roadmap as far as here are the beats that you probably want to hit, but it is nothing like what I want it to look like. So he needs to go further down. If I do an anticipation, then he needs to go further down. So I'll probably just draw on top of this, kind of push it, and adjust the timing here. Whenever I'm animating, I always wind up kind of making it timed 12 frames per second, and then just fill in the others. So I don't know how that always seems to wind up happening. I don't plan it that way. It's very common though that I just wind up all my keyframes. They're keyframes in a loose sense, because keyframes really are just supposed to be like the big changes in direction. They're more just planning drawings for me, because I kind of work straight ahead and then go back and fix things. I don't really work in the official here's how you animate way. I just like that you discover a lot of weird things when you animate straight ahead. Or 1 second. I'm gonna pause the stream. I'll be right back.